Imagine walking into a hospital room to care for a patient in critical condition, and the moment you see their face, your entire body goes cold. Because you know this person. You know them intimately in the worst possible way. This is the person who destroyed your teenage years, who made you hate yourself so much you wanted to die, who turned your high school experience into a living nightmare. And now, 30 years later, they're unconscious, vulnerable, completely at your mercy. Their life is literally in your hands. What would you do? This is the story of Sarah Mitchell, a 55-year-old ICU nurse who faced exactly this situation. The bully who had tormented her 3 decades ago was now her patient. And the decision she made in those critical hours would test everything she believed about forgiveness, justice, and the kind of person she had fought so hard to become. If stories about second chances, moral dilemmas, and the power of choosing compassion over revenge move you, make sure to subscribe. It was 11:37 p.m. on a Tuesday in March when Sarah Mitchell's life collided with her past in the most unexpected way possible. Sarah was finishing her shift at St. Catherine's Hospital, a large medical center in suburban Portland. She had been an ICU nurse for 25 years, and at 55 years old, she had seen everything. Trauma cases, heart attacks, strokes, overdoses. She had held the hands of dying patients, celebrated with families when someone pulled through against the odds, and learned to maintain professional composure even in the most emotionally challenging situations. Tonight had been relatively quiet, 2 stable patients, routine checks, paperwork. Sarah was looking forward to going home, taking a hot bath, and sleeping in her own bed for the first time in 3 days. Then the emergency call came through. "We have a critical incoming," the charge nurse announced over the intercom. "Female, late 40s, severe motor vehicle accident, multiple injuries, possible internal bleeding. ETA 3 minutes. Sarah, your primary." Sarah immediately shifted into work mode. She alerted her team, prepared the trauma bay, and positioned herself to receive the patient. When you've been doing this job as long as she had, instinct takes over. You don't think about it, you just move. The ambulance arrived. Paramedics rushed in with a patient on a gurney, calling out vitals and injuries as they transferred her to the hospital bed. Sarah's hands moved efficiently, helping to connect monitors, starting additional IV lines, assessing the damage. "Patient is Jennifer Harper, age 48, the paramedic reported. "Head-on collision at high speed. She has a traumatic brain injury, fractured ribs, possible punctured lung, and internal bleeding. She's been unconscious since the scene. GCS score of 6. BP dropping. She's critical." Sarah was reaching for the patient's chart when the name registered. Jennifer Harper. Her hands froze. For a moment, everything around her seemed to slow down. She looked at the patient's face for the first time, really looked, and felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. It was her. Older, her face swollen and bruised from the accident, but unmistakably her. Jennifer Harper. The girl who had made Sarah's teenage years a living hell. The person Sarah had spent 3 decades trying to forget. "Sarah?" One of the other nurses was looking at her with concern. "You okay?" Sarah realized she had stopped moving. The team was waiting for her direction. The patient was dying. She needed to make decisions. Now. She took a breath and forced herself back into professional mode. "Yes, sorry, let's get her stabilized. I need a full trauma panel. Cross-match for transfusion and get the CT ready. Page Dr. Morrison, tell him we have a critical TBI." Her voice was steady. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency. But inside, Sarah felt like she was 15 years old again, small and scared and drowning in memories she had worked so hard to leave behind. As the team worked to stabilize Jennifer, Sarah performed her duties with mechanical precision. She had trained for situations like this. She knew what to do. But every time she looked at Jennifer's face, every time she touched her to check vitals or adjust equipment, she felt something dark and complicated rising in her chest. This woman had tried to kill her once, not with violence, but with words, with humiliation, with systematic psychological torture that had pushed Sarah to the edge of suicide. And now, through some cruel twist of fate, Sarah was the person responsible for keeping her alive. The question that would haunt Sarah for days was already forming. Did she want to? To understand the weight of what Sarah was feeling in that hospital room, you need to understand what Jennifer Harper had done to her 30 years earlier. You need to know about the girl Sarah used to be, before the bullying, before the trauma, before she learned to rebuild herself from broken pieces. Sarah had been a quiet, bookish teenager. She loved reading, excelled in her classes, and had a small circle of close friends. She wasn't popular, but she wasn't a target either. She was just there. Invisible in the way that many teenagers wish they could be. That changed in her sophomore year when Jennifer Harper transferred to their school. Jennifer was everything Sarah wasn't. Beautiful, confident, from a wealthy family. She had the kind of charisma that drew people to her, that made others want to be in her orbit. Within weeks, she was the center of the social universe at Lincoln High School. Sarah didn't even register on Jennifer's radar at first. But then came the incident that started everything. It was during English class. The teacher had assigned a group project, and through random selection, Sarah and Jennifer ended up as partners. Sarah had been nervous but tried to be friendly, suggesting they meet at the library to work on the assignment. Jennifer had looked at her with barely concealed disdain. "I'm not working with you. You smell weird and you're boring. I'll do it myself and put your name on it if you stay out of my way." Sarah had been hurt but relieved. She stayed out of Jennifer's way. They got an A on the project. Sarah thought that would be the end of their interaction. She was wrong. For reasons Sarah never fully understood, Jennifer decided that Sarah was going to be her target. Maybe it was because Sarah was quiet and wouldn't fight back. Maybe it was because Jennifer sensed vulnerability. Or maybe there was no reason at all. Sometimes cruelty doesn't need justification. It started small. Jennifer would make comments in passing. "Nice outfit, did you get it from the trash?" Laughter from her friends. Sarah would keep walking, face burning, pretending she hadn't heard. Then it escalated. Jennifer started spreading rumors. Sarah was dirty. Sarah had tried to cheat off Jennifer during the project. Sarah had a crush on Jennifer's boyfriend and had sent him inappropriate messages. None of it was true, but truth didn't matter. Jennifer was popular and charismatic. People believed her. Sarah's small circle of friends began to distance themselves. Not because they believed the rumors, but because being associated with Sarah meant becoming a target too. Teenagers are survival experts. They know when to abandon ship. The harassment became daily. Jennifer would trip Sarah in the hallways, pour milk on her lunch, stick gum in her hair, write insults on her locker, and always, there was the verbal abuse, the constant stream of comments about how ugly Sarah was, how worthless, how no one would ever love her. Sarah tried to be invisible. She started eating lunch in the library. She changed her route between classes to avoid Jennifer. She stopped participating in class because every time she spoke, Jennifer would mock her afterward. But Jennifer was relentless. She made it her mission to make sure Sarah never felt safe anywhere. The worst incident happened in the girls' locker room after gym class. Sarah was changing when Jennifer and her friends surrounded her. They took her clothes, threw them in the shower, turned on the cold water, and then took photos of Sarah crying, partially dressed, trying to retrieve her soaked belongings. The photos circulated through the school within hours. Sarah became a joke. People she'd never even spoken to would laugh when she walked by. Boys would make crude comments. Even some teachers looked at her with pity that felt worse than the mockery. Sarah stopped going to school. She told her parents she was sick, and it wasn't entirely a lie. She was sick with shame, with fear, with a profound sense that the world was an unsafe place and she didn't belong in it. Her parents tried to help. They contacted the school, but Jennifer was from a wealthy, influential family. Her father was a major donor. The principal promised to look into it, but nothing changed. Jennifer got a one-day suspension. The harassment continued. Sarah became depressed. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping, spent hours staring at the ceiling of her bedroom, feeling like a burden to her family, a failure as a person, fundamentally broken in some way she couldn't fix. One night, 3 months into the bullying, 15-year-old Sarah swallowed 20 sleeping pills. She didn't leave a note. She didn't say goodbye. She just wanted the pain to stop. Her mother found her in time, rushed her to the hospital, pumped her stomach, saved her life. Sarah spent 2 weeks in a psychiatric facility. When she came home, her parents had made a decision. They were moving. New city, new school, new start. Sarah's father transferred to a branch office in another state. They packed up their lives and left within a month. Sarah never saw Jennifer Harper again. Until tonight, 30 years later, in an ICU room where Jennifer's life hung in the balance. Sarah stood at the nurse's station at 1 a.m., Jennifer's chart in her hands, her mind a battlefield. Jennifer had been stabilized, but barely. The CT scan showed a severe traumatic brain injury with swelling. She had internal bleeding that surgery had temporarily controlled, but her condition was critical. The next 72 hours would determine if she lived or died, and much of that depended on the quality of care she received. Sarah could provide excellent care. She was known for it. She was the nurse other nurses came to with difficult cases. She was the one families requested when their loved ones needed someone competent and compassionate. Or she could provide adequate care. Do the minimum required. Follow protocols, but without the extra vigilance, the constant monitoring, the intuitive adjustments that often made the difference between life and death. She could let Jennifer slip away through 1,000 small moments of inattention, and no one would ever know. No one would blame her. Sometimes patients just don't make it despite everyone's best efforts. The thought terrified Sarah. Not because she was considering it, but because some part of her wanted to. "Sarah?" Dr. Morrison approached, his face showing the fatigue of a long shift. "What's your assessment?" Sarah pulled herself together. "Patient is critical but stable for now. Brain swelling is significant. We'll need to monitor intracranial pressure constantly. She's on a ventilator, sedated. Next 72 hours are crucial. Can you take the lead on this case? I know it's the end of your shift, but you're my best ICU nurse. I'd feel better with you managing her care." Sarah wanted to say no, wanted to hand this case to someone else, to put distance between herself and Jennifer. But her professional pride, the identity she had, built over 25 years, wouldn't let her. "Yes," she heard herself say, "I'll stay." Dr. Morrison looked relieved. "Thank you. I'll check in every few hours. Call me immediately if anything changes." Sarah returned to Jennifer's room. The woman lay unconscious, machines breathing for her, monitors tracking every vital sign. She looked vulnerable, human. Not like the monster from Sarah's memories, but like someone's daughter, maybe someone's mother. Certainly someone's patient who deserved care. Sarah pulled up a chair beside the bed and began her vigil. The first night was the hardest. Every time an alarm sounded, every time a vital sign shifted, Sarah had to make split-second decisions. Adjust medication, call for the doctor, respond to complications. Each decision carried weight. Each one could tip the balance between life and death. And with each decision, Sarah felt the war inside herself. The professional nurse in her knew what to do. Years of training took over. She checked Jennifer's pupils every hour, monitored intracranial pressure, adjusted sedation levels, administered medications. She did everything exactly right, but the 15-year-old girl inside her, the one who had swallowed those pills, who had wanted to die because of this woman, kept whispering dark thoughts. Let her die. She deserves this. Remember what she did to you. This is justice. Sarah pushed the thoughts away. She focused on tasks, on protocols, on being the person she had worked so hard to become, not the broken teenager Jennifer had tried to create. During her second night watching over Jennifer, something unexpected happened. Jennifer's sister arrived. Sarah was checking Jennifer's vitals when a woman in her mid-40s rushed into the room, her face pale with fear. "Oh God, Jenny," the woman sobbed, rushing to the bedside. "Please don't die, please." Sarah stood back, giving her space. The woman held Jennifer's hand and cried in a way that was raw and real and entirely human. "I'm Rebecca," the woman said finally, wiping her eyes. "Jennifer's sister. Are you her nurse?" "Yes, Sarah Mitchell. Is she going to be okay? Please tell me she's going to be okay." Sarah gave her the clinical truth. "The next day or two are critical. She has significant injuries, but we're doing everything we can." Rebecca nodded, tears streaming down her face. "She has kids, 2 girls, 13 and 15. They're with their father right now. I haven't told them how bad it is. I don't know how to tell them they might lose their mother. 13 and 15. The same age Sarah had been when Jennifer had tormented her." Rebecca kept talking, the way people do in hospitals when they're scared and need to fill the silence. "Jenny's been through so much lately. Her divorce was brutal. She lost her job 6 months ago. She's been struggling with depression. I've been so worried about her. And now this." Sarah felt something shift in her chest. Depression. Struggling. These were not words she had ever associated with Jennifer Harper, the confident, cruel girl who had seemed invincible. Did she... Was the accident? Rebecca couldn't finish the question. "We don't know yet," Sarah said gently. "The police are investigating." But they both knew what Rebecca was really asking. Was this an accident, or had Jennifer driven her car into that barrier on purpose? Rebecca stayed for hours talking to her unconscious sister, telling her about her daughters, about family events, about anything and everything. Sarah listened while she worked, and slowly, unwillingly, Jennifer Harper began to become three-dimensional in her mind. This wasn't just the bully from high school. This was a woman with a family who loved her, a mother with teenage daughters, a person who was struggling, who was in pain, who might have been so desperate that she tried to end it all, just like Sarah had 30 years ago. By the third day, Sarah was exhausted. She had barely slept, surviving on coffee and the adrenaline that comes from managing a critical case. Other nurses had offered to take over, but Sarah found herself unable to let go. Jennifer's condition had stabilized slightly. The brain swelling was decreasing. Her vitals were improving. Dr. Morrison was cautiously optimistic that she might survive, though whether she would wake up and what condition she'd be in if she did remained unknown. Sarah was changing Jennifer's IV when something made her pause. She looked at Jennifer's face, at this woman who had caused her so much pain, and tried to see beyond the past. What she saw was just a person, vulnerable, broken, fighting for her life. "Why did you do it?" Sarah found herself whispering. "Why did you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you?" Of course, there was no answer. Just the steady beep of monitors and the hiss of the ventilator. Sarah sat down in the chair beside the bed, suddenly overwhelmed with a fatigue that went beyond physical exhaustion. "I wanted to die because of you. Did you know that? Did you ever think about what your words did to me?" Silence. I swallowed 20 pills. My mom found me just in time. We had to move away. I had to start over completely. It took years of therapy, years of learning to believe I was worth something. Sarah wiped her eyes. She hadn't meant to cry, but the tears came anyway. And now, here you are, in my care. And I have to decide what kind of person I am. Because I could let you die. I could make it look like I did everything right while doing just enough wrong to ensure you didn't make it. No one would ever know. She looked at Jennifer's unconscious face. But I would know. And I didn't survive what you did to me just to become someone as cruel as you were. Sarah stood up, checked the monitors one more time, and made her decision. She would save Jennifer Harper's life. Not because Jennifer deserved it. Not because of forgiveness or nobility or any grand moral principle, but because Sarah had spent 30 years building herself into a person who saved lives, and she refused to let Jennifer destroy that too. On the fourth day, Jennifer's eyes opened. Sarah was checking her vitals when she saw the flutter of eyelids, the subtle movement that indicated returning consciousness. She immediately called for Dr. Morrison. "Jennifer," Dr. Morrison said, leaning over the bed. "Can you hear me? If you can understand me, blink twice." Jennifer's eyes moved, unfocused and confused, but she blinked twice. "Good. You've been in an accident, you're in the hospital, you're going to be okay, don't try to talk yet. We have a breathing tube, just rest." Jennifer's eyes moved around the room, trying to make sense of her surroundings. When her gaze landed on Sarah, there was no recognition, no awareness that the nurse standing beside her bed was someone from her past. Sarah felt a strange mixture of relief and disappointment. Jennifer didn't remember her. To Jennifer, Sarah was just another nurse, another stranger providing care. Over the next several days, Jennifer slowly improved. The breathing tube was removed. She was able to speak, though her words were slurred and confused. She had significant memory loss from the brain injury, entire sections of her life simply gone. Her daughters visited. Sarah watched as these two teenage girls, 13 and 15, sat beside their mother's bed and held her hands. They looked scared and young and desperately worried about losing their mom. Sarah saw herself in them. Or rather saw who she might have been if she had lost her mother at that age. She saw their vulnerability, their need, their love. One afternoon, when Jennifer was more lucid, Sarah was adjusting her pillows when Jennifer spoke. "You're a very good nurse," Jennifer said, her speech still slow but clearer. "Thank you for taking care of me." Sarah looked at her. "It's my job." "No," Jennifer insisted. "It's more than that. I can tell. You really care. That's rare." Sarah didn't know what to say. This woman who had shown her no compassion 30 years ago was thanking her for compassion now. The irony was almost painful. "My sister told me I almost died," Jennifer continued. "She said if it wasn't for the excellent care here, I wouldn't have made it. So thank you. Really." Sarah nodded and left the room before emotion could overwhelm her. Sarah requested a transfer to a different unit as soon as Jennifer was stable enough not to need intensive care. She told herself it was just normal rotation, but she knew the truth. She couldn't face Jennifer anymore. The weight of what she knew, of what Jennifer had forgotten, was too heavy to carry. But fate, it seemed, wasn't done with them yet. 3 weeks after the accident, Sarah was in the hospital cafeteria on her lunch break when someone sat down across from her. She looked up to find Jennifer in a wheelchair, pushed by her sister, Rebecca. "I've been looking for you," Jennifer said. She was out of the ICU now, recovering in a regular room, but still weak and bearing the visible scars of the accident. Sarah's heart started pounding. "You should be resting." "I needed to thank you properly," Jennifer said. "Rebecca told me you stayed with me for 3 days straight, that you went above and beyond." I don't remember any of it, but I'm told I owe you my life." Sarah didn't know what to say. She felt Rebecca watching her with curious eyes. "There's something else," Jennifer continued. "The accident has done something strange to my memory. Some things are crystal clear, others are completely gone. But I've been having these fragments, these memories from high school that feel important. And I keep seeing your face, which is weird because I don't know you. But I feel like I do." Sarah's blood ran cold. "Rebecca helped me figure it out," Jennifer continued. "We looked you up. Sarah Mitchell. You went to Lincoln High School, same as me, same year." Sarah said nothing. Her hands gripped her coffee cup so tightly her knuckles turned white. "I don't remember you from high school," Jennifer admitted. "That whole period is fuzzy. But Rebecca said I should ask you. She said maybe we knew each other. Did we?" Sarah looked at Jennifer, at this woman who had nearly destroyed her, who now sat before her with no memory of what she'd done. She looked at Rebecca, who seemed concerned and confused. And she made a choice. "Yes," Sarah said quietly, "we knew each other." "Were we friends?" Sarah almost laughed. "No, we weren't friends." Jennifer's face fell. Was I mean to you? That's the feeling I get from these fragments. That I was cruel to someone, was it you?" Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment. She could tell Jennifer everything. Make her face what she'd done, force her to carry the guilt and shame. It would be justice of a sort. Or she could let it go. Let Jennifer live without the burden of knowing what she'd done to a 15-year-old girl 30 years ago. "You bullied me," Sarah said finally. "Badly. For 2 years. You made my life so miserable that I tried to kill myself. My family had to move away so I could escape you." The color drained from Jennifer's face. Rebecca gasped. "Oh my God," Jennifer whispered. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't remember any of it, but if you say I did it, I believe you. I'm so sorry." Tears streamed down Jennifer's face. "I have daughters. Teenage daughters. If someone did to them what I did to you, I can't even imagine. How can you even look at me? How did you take care of me knowing what I'd done?" Sarah felt something break open inside her. 30 years of carried pain, of buried rage, of unresolved trauma. And underneath it all, exhaustion. "I almost didn't," Sarah admitted. "When I saw it was you, part of me wanted to let you die. Part of me thought it would be justice. But I couldn't do it because I'm not that person, and I refuse to let what you did turn me into someone I'm not." Jennifer was sobbing now. "You saved my life. After what I did to you, you saved my life. I don't deserve that. I don't deserve your compassion." "No," Sarah agreed, "you don't. But I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. Because I needed to prove to myself that I was stronger than my trauma. That I could face the person who hurt me most and still choose to be kind." Rebecca was crying too. "Jennifer has been in therapy for depression. She's been trying to be better, to deal with her own demons. I think maybe what she did to you came from her own pain. That doesn't excuse it. Nothing excuses it, but maybe it explains it." "I was miserable in high school," Jennifer said, her voice breaking. "My parents' marriage was falling apart. My father was abusive. I felt powerless everywhere in my life except school, where I had social power, so I used it. I hurt people to feel like I had control. That's not an excuse, it's just the truth. I was damaged and I damaged others." She looked at Sarah with eyes full of regret. "I can't take back what I did. I can't fix the pain I caused, but I can tell you that I'm not that person anymore. Or at least I'm trying not to be. And I'm grateful more than you'll ever know that you were the better person. That you saved me even though I didn't deserve it." Sarah sat with these words. She waited to feel something. Satisfaction, maybe. Vindication. The relief of finally being acknowledged, apologized to, seen. What she felt instead was tired and strangely lighter. "I forgive you," Sarah heard herself say, and she was surprised to find she meant it. "Not because you deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve peace. I've carried what you did to me for 30 years. I'm done carrying it." 6 months after the accident, Sarah received an unexpected letter. It was from Jennifer's daughter, Emma, the 15-year-old. The letter read, "Dear Mrs. Mitchell, my mom told me what she did to you when you were my age. She told me how you still saved her life even though she had been so cruel to you. I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm 15 now, the same age you were when my mom bullied you. I can't imagine going through what you went through. School is hard enough without someone making it worse on purpose. Sometimes I see girls at my school being mean to other girls. And now I think about you. I think about my mom. I wonder if anyone is going to step in or if everyone is just going to pretend they don't see it. My mom is different now. She cries sometimes when she thinks about what she did to you. She's been going to therapy and trying to be better. She even started volunteering at a crisis hotline for teens because she says if she can help even one kid who feels like you felt, maybe she can make up for some of the damage she caused. I don't think what she did is okay. I don't think saying sorry makes it better. But I'm glad you saved her. Not just because she's my mom and I love her, but because you showed me what real strength looks like. It's not about being mean or tough. It's about being kind even when you have every reason not to be. Thank you for giving me my mom back. And thank you for showing me the kind of person I want to be. Emma. Sarah read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. She thought about 15-year-old Sarah, the girl who had wanted to die, who had believed she was worthless, who had thought the pain would never end. That girl had survived. She had become a nurse. She had spent 25 years saving lives. And when faced with her greatest test, when given the chance for revenge, she had chosen compassion instead. That girl, that broken 15-year-old, had grown into someone strong, someone good, someone who could face her worst nightmare and respond with grace. Sarah kept the letter. She also kept something else, a small note Jennifer had sent her a week after their cafeteria conversation. "I know I don't have the right to ask anything of you, but I have one request. I've started speaking to teen groups about bullying, about what I did and how it affected you, about how cruelty has consequences that last decades. Would you be willing to join me, to tell your side of the story? I think hearing from both of us might help kids understand the real damage that bullying causes." Sarah had agreed. Not because she wanted to relive her trauma, but because she wanted to give it purpose. She wanted her pain to mean something. Over the following year, Sarah and Jennifer spoke together at schools, community centers, and youth programs. They told their story, the bully and the victim 30 years later, showing kids what cruelty costs and what forgiveness looks like. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes Sarah would have panic attacks before speaking events, her body remembering the trauma even when her mind tried to move past it. Sometimes Jennifer would break down, overwhelmed by guilt for what she'd done. But they kept doing it, because teenagers needed to hear it. They needed to see that their actions had consequences, that words can wound as deeply as weapons. That being popular or powerful doesn't give you the right to hurt others. And most importantly, that it's never too late to change, to apologize, to try to be better. Sarah's own healing surprised her. She had thought forgiving Jennifer would feel like losing, like letting her tormentor off the hook. Instead, it felt like putting down a weight she'd been carrying for 30 years. She still had hard days. She still bore the scars, but the past no longer controlled her. Jennifer Harper was no longer the monster in her nightmares, but simply a flawed person who had done terrible things and was trying to make amends. One evening, after a particularly emotional speaking event at a high school, Jennifer and Sarah sat in Sarah's car in the parking lot, both exhausted. "Do you think we're actually making a difference?" Jennifer asked. "Or are we just reliving our trauma for an audience?" Sarah thought about it. "I think we're showing kids that there's a way forward, that you can be the person who hurt someone and still become someone better. And you can be the person who was hurt and still choose kindness. If even one kid sees that and makes a different choice, it's worth it." Jennifer nodded. "I'll never be able to fix what I did to you, I know that. But maybe I can stop someone else from doing what I did. Maybe that's the best I can hope for." "It's enough," Sarah said. "It has to be enough. We can't change the past. We can only try to influence the future." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Jennifer spoke again. "I never asked you something. When you were taking care of me in the hospital, when you didn't know if I would live or die, what made you decide to save me? What was the exact moment you chose to do the right thing?" Sarah remembered. "It was when your sister told me about your daughters, when I realized you were a mother to girls the same age I was when you bullied me. I couldn't let them lose their mother no matter what that mother had done to me. They were innocent. They deserved to have you in their lives. Thank you," Jennifer whispered, "for seeing past me to them." "And there was something else," Sarah added. "I realized that if I let you die through negligence or spite, I would become the person I hated most. I would become someone who deliberately caused suffering. I would become you in a way. And I refused to let that happen." Jennifer flinched but nodded. "I understand, and I'm grateful that you were stronger than I ever was." Sarah Mitchell's story challenges us to think about one of life's most difficult questions. What do we do when we have power over someone who once had power over us? When the tables turn and the person who hurt us is vulnerable and at our mercy? The easy answer is revenge. It's the answer our wounded selves cry out for. Make them suffer. Show them what they put us through. Let them feel the pain they inflicted on us. But Sarah's story shows us something more complicated and ultimately more powerful. That true strength isn't about winning or dominating or proving ourselves superior to our enemies. True strength is choosing compassion when revenge would be easier. It's being the person we needed when we were at our lowest, even for someone who was never that person for us. This doesn't mean we have to forgive everyone who hurts us. Forgiveness is personal, and sometimes the most healing thing we can do is walk away and never look back. But when circumstances bring us face to face with our past, when we're forced to confront the people who wounded us, we have a choice about who we want to be in that moment. Sarah chose to be a healer, not because Jennifer deserved healing, but because Sarah deserved to be the kind of person who heals rather than harms. Jennifer's part in this story matters too. She had the courage to face what she'd done, to apologize without making excuses, and to dedicate herself to making sure other kids don't inflict the same pain she once did. That doesn't erase her past actions, but it shows that people can change, that the cruel teenager can become the remorseful adult, that we're not forever defined by our worst moments. The truth about bullying is that it leaves scars on everyone involved. The victim carries trauma, yes, but the perpetrator often carries damage too. Hurt people hurt people. Understanding this doesn't excuse cruelty, but it helps us see the full picture of human pain and how it ripples outward. Sarah's decision to speak publicly with Jennifer about their shared history has helped countless teenagers understand the real consequences of their actions. When kids see the bully and the victim standing together 30 years later, both bearing their scars but choosing to use their pain for good, it makes the abstract concept of bullying is wrong suddenly very real and very human. Perhaps the most powerful lesson from Sarah's story is this: You don't have to carry your pain forever. Trauma is real and its effects can last a lifetime. But you can choose what you do with it. You can let it make you bitter, or you can transform it into purpose. You can let it define you, or you can integrate it into a larger story of survival and strength. Sarah didn't save Jennifer's life because she was a saint. She saved it because she was a professional who took her oath seriously, because she couldn't live with herself if she didn't, and because she refused to let Jennifer Harper have the power to turn her into someone cruel. That's a victory. Not the victory of revenge, but the victory of remaining true to yourself when it would be easier to compromise your values. The victory of looking at the person who tried to destroy you and saying, "You don't get to decide who I am. I decide, and I choose to be better than you were." Jennifer learned that the girl she once tormented grew up to be the person who saved her life. That's a lesson more powerful than any punishment could have been. And Sarah learned that forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of carrying hatred and pain. It's about reclaiming your power from the person who hurt you. Both women are still healing. They probably always will be. But they're healing together, showing the world that there's a path forward from even the deepest wounds. That path doesn't erase the past, but it does prove that the past doesn't have to be the end of the story. The next time you encounter someone who hurt you, you'll have a choice. Not everyone will choose the path Sarah chose, and that's okay. But her story reminds us that compassion is always an option, even when it seems impossible. And sometimes being the bigger person isn't about moral superiority. It's about refusing to let someone else's cruelty change who you fundamentally are. Sarah Mitchell saved Jennifer Harper's life, but in doing so, she also saved her own. She saved the part of herself that 15-year-old Sarah had fought so hard to protect. Her inherent goodness, her capacity for kindness, her belief that people matter and deserve care even when they don't deserve it. That's not weakness, that's power. Real, lasting, transformative power, and that's a story worth telling.